So I'm Ashley Rodriguez, lead designer and owner of Garden Grace Florals, and today we're officially doing the install underwater for our incredible Bridgerton coral reef installation design. So as you can see, with that type of inspiration, I wanted to use an idea of English garden meets underwater tropical. So we have elements like the Phalaenopsis orchids and some of these kind of gold corally pieces, dried palms that are actually local. And then to create the underwater base, we do have to add some faux to kind of help weight it down. So I'm doing an ombre kind of color effect, and I really like this trend now of kind of pieces of color throughout an installation. So we're kind of starting light here. We have some peach, gonna go more into the corals on this side, and then kind of almost like a mauve-y color down here. So you'll see that kind of color inspiration throughout the design. So we even have pieces down here that are gonna incorporate different elements of the color and in clumps of that color. So I think that'll really make for an interesting design moment underwater, and it'll also give the illusion of kind of depth of different colors into the ocean essentially. So I'm gonna just start kind of placing some stems. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect with the ombre theme, but I like that we're kind of seeing this white come into more of a really light pink, peach, darker peach, and then down into this mauve color right here. We have these awesome Anthuriums, beautiful peach roses. One thing I love is that Mayesh was able to get us almost entirely locally grown, American grown flowers, and that makes me really happy. Wanted to make sure that the arch structure has a lot of layers of wire so that everything won't float right back up, that it can be attached without using floral foam. That's really important to me as well. And we simply cannot use floral foam in a pool anyway, so that works out. So we have over, I think, 600 stems here, not including the faux stems as well. And so you can kind of see what I'm doing here with the color. So the Anthuriums, the pink is kind of leading into the mauve down below. I'm going to start to do lighter up here. I want to make sure I'm covering all of the angles too. And then we'll fill in once I get kind of the color that I like of everything. So for the mechanics of these pieces, one big thing we always have to keep in mind is we obviously can't have floral foam, which I don't want to use anyway, but we certainly can't have it in an underwater shoot like this. So what we did was we created these really cool mesh pillows for the background pieces that we could kind of place wherever we wanted. And then the arch itself is anchored in urns, but it's basically large plastic coated metal fencing that we kind of rolled into itself. We have plastic wrapped around that to make sure that I can just stick as many flowers safely in there without them floating up as possible. So, we just had to really think through a lot of what it will take to keep these things in the water, not floating up, but anchored down. And really, good old-fashioned wiring, making little pillows of wire has certainly seemed to work well, and particularly for the arch structure. We made that organically, and it's definitely held up in the water so far.
For a set of this magnitude, we want to make sure that we are shooting it every single way possible. That being said, it's going to be impossible to coordinate all of our models coming at the same time. So they'll be coming at staggered times, some in the morning, some towards the evening, and some even in the full afternoon sun like we have right now. To compensate for that, we built a set of scrims. This is soft diffusion fabric that will help filter the sunlight and create a natural, evenly lit set for us. Then that will allow me to control my lighting underwater to create the different sorts of looks that I want for this shoot and as costumes and models and different styles dictate. Ashley's vision was for a very lush English garden. So to do that, we wanted to build it from the ground up and give the idea of dense ground vegetation. Since we didn't have enough stems to cover the entire bottom of the pool, we decided to supplement with these faux boxwood hedges. These are built on a thin plastic membrane that make these things actually fairly buoyant. So to compensate for that, Ashley and I decided to add these fishing weights to the back. And now what we need to do is we need to float test these and see if they sink entirely, if they float, or if they pull up on the corners. These are going to be the base that we're going to build this entire set off of, and it is very crucial that they sink and sink evenly. Because once we sink these mats, we're going to be placing additional floral arrangements on top of them to create that layered English garden look. And we need to know that we're going to have a safe set for our models to interact with. During shoots like this, where we have many, many moving parts, our goal is to walk a very fine line between having a set that our models can move with, play with, interact with, and be part of, but also where the pieces are stable enough so as not to come up into the models' faces, provide entanglement hazards, or even worse, fall on our models and pin them underwater. We will also be having several safety divers in every single shoot that we do with the models. And we'll be testing the shoot. Before models get in the water, we'll have safety divers interact with the set, tug on things, move pieces, and ensure that it is safe before we have our models in the water. So let's see how this acts with the water. I'm going to put it here on the sun shelf. It's only about 6 inches deep, and let's just see how it plays. All right, it looks like it is slowly settling to the bottom. But it's still got some buoyancy. I see a couple of the edges are slightly pulling up. So to make sure that it's going to stay put and not fluff up in a model's face or cause anything else to be disruptive or unstable, we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually weight these further. So that's our rationale behind how we build an underwater set from the ground up, and some considerations that a photographer doing a shoot on land wouldn't have. So as we think about the bottom of the pool and this garden that we're creating underwater, we have to think about a couple of things. So the dimension of the different green boxwood pieces on the bottom, and then also how we're creating a color variation that mimics the arch underwater on the ground, and it would be in the same kind of color theory as the arch. So we're starting kind of from the light whites, we're going down again into that pink coral, and then into really the deeper, almost apricot pinks. And then we're also creating dimension, not only, like I said, with the different colors here on the bottom, but also with different pieces that we're creating in different areas of the bottom of the pool, so that the models can interact with things, they can kind of be flowing in the water. Then we're gonna even use weights to hang flowers to almost look like little sea urchins coming up from the bottom of the pool. So we're trying to get, creative. I wanted to think about different ways we could use things, just like carnations, everyday things that we think about using. I love the trend of the strung flower, and so just thinking about that in a different way I thought was kind of cool for this. We also were using kind of different types of faux flowers to anchor everything, but also the fresh that are kind of, again, in that unique, like if Bridgerton met a coral reef vibe. So I love these dahlias. They almost look like kind of water lily type flowers. We have different, just almost that hint of lavender blue to kind of mimic this dark pink. And then we go all the way down. You can see the feathers incorporated in different parts. So again, kind of that blocking of type and color of flower to give it almost like a coral reef vibe. Kimber really wanted me to understand what it's like to have the models in these spaces that we're doing these elaborate shoots. And it was much more intense than I anticipated. I'm actually so grateful for all of the experience that they have, because they have a safety swimmer. There are all kinds of underwater safety things you need to have in place. And particularly for a novice like me, I'm very grateful for that. So I am just amazed at what it takes to do these underwater shoots from a photography and safety background. And I'm just grateful to have tried it out as well.